43% of all of our goods in the United States come from the East Port. So we're nearly talking about half of freight coming in from the East Coast that's going to be put to a halt with this strike being a missed. Yo, it's G with LMT, and we're back with another video. And today we're going to be discussing the port strike, what is happening, what does that mean for consumers, and what does that mean for the trucking industry. Let's get into it, y'all. So I know many of you have probably heard that we were looming a port strike and a port strike was possibly happening. Well, today on October 1st at midnight tonight, it went down. Okay, so our port is on a strike on the East Coast all the way down to the Gulf Coast. And what is happening is this: the ILA, the International Longshoremen's Association, has been in negotiations with the Maritime Alliance discussing a couple of things, right? So they were discussing overall wages and what those were anticipated to be. And they were also discussing including automation and incorporating automation into the ports and into the job that they do every day. So it is said that the ILA is looking for at least a 67 or 77% increase in wages over a 5-year period. The Maritime Alliance has been able to offer them up to 50%. However, they haven't been able to meet an agreement. On top of that, when it comes to the automations that are going to be imported into the ports, the ILA or the labor workers, the longshoremen, they are concerned that this is going to put them out of work. So I can totally understand that from their perspective as well too. So a lot of things have started to happen prior to this happening back in June and July. They have started to reroute a lot of shipments over to the West Coast, as the West Coast longshoremen are not on strike, as well as they started to pre-order and get ahead of shipping costs and bring a lot of goods here early. That way they weren't so much impacted by what is going on. And I do have my notes here to keep up because I want to make sure I give you guys accurate information. Now, according to FreightWaves and a lot of other research, about 43% of all of our goods in the United States come from the East Port. So we're nearly talking about half of freight coming in from the East Coast that's going to be put to a halt with this strike being a mist right now that is happening. It is said that it will cost us about $4.3 billion per day that the port is on strike. So we've already ran up a tab of $4.3 billion today with the port being closed. Okay. Also, according to FreightWaves, it was also said that it would also cause a 5 to 10 day backlog on the shipments that are being offloaded and rerouted onto rail and rerouted onto trucks to get distributed from the ports. So every day that we are shut down or that the port workers are on strike, it is costing us anywhere from 5 to 10 days of doing business and getting things back to the way that they used to be, which is going to be a huge, huge issue if this ends up being something that takes longer than, I would say, a week. So next, now that we've covered everything that's going on and what is actually happening, I want to talk about how this affects everyday people, how this affects the consumers, and what this looks like for the American economy. So I don't want to fearmonger. We're not going to see things just flying off of the shelves. Okay, this is going to be a slow burn if it gets to that point. Okay, so let's not go out here and start buying toilet paper like we did during the pandemic. Okay, so the things that will be affected and the commodities that we're going to have issues with are going to be perishable foods. So fruits, vegetables, things that come from Central and South America are going to be impacted. Avocados, mangoes, bananas. Grocery stores as well did not pre-stock up on items because of fresh and perishable foods expiring. So they don't have these things just in abundance in their stores. So we may start to see some things and some issues of lightweight inventory of these resources in our grocery stores if it gets to that point. That does include fresh fruit juice, pineapples, avocados, durable goods like furniture, salt, sugar, gypsum, which is something that is used in our construction world here in America as well. Coal and heavy agricultural equipment as well will be affected, okay? So do keep in mind that we do still have some resources here that we make in America. However, if you pay attention to the items that we purchase every day, a lot of things say made in China. And let's also talk about the fact that a lot of the ports in the American and the East Coast are being run by Chinese companies, right? So hold on to that thought. Also, it is reported through Freight Waves that we're about 2 months out from Black Friday. So we're also going to have delays on things like toys and things like that too, tires, liquor, beer, wine, and with us being so close to the holiday season and those things end up being backlogged or not coming into the country, that could potentially be an issue for consumerism and consumer shopping as we get into the holidays. So just be prepared, and maybe we want to start shopping a little bit early this year, okay? So next, also, I want to talk about and touch on the effects with the hurricane as well, too. So on top of things being at a halt at the ports and things not moving the way that they need to move, we also just had a lot of states that were affected by Hurricane Helene, and they need resources. They need items. So if we're not able to get these things from the ports that they need, it may continue and will be a big issue, okay? Also, the rail company has already stated that they will not be absorbing any refrigerated goods to be transporting them for us. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle to see how these things are going to be moved, okay? And that brings us into our last point, the impact for trucking rates. So what's going to happen with the trucking industry? What does this look like, right? So let's talk about this for a minute. When it comes to our port truckers or our drayage drivers out here, they are now not at work either by no choice of their own. So some of them work for companies, some of them do port trash, some of them own their own companies, some of them have direct contracts out here with these ports. And now that the ports are shut down, they don't have access to these contracts. So these truckers are either forced to park their trucks, or they're going to enter into the spot market, the market of overflow, right? Which is where a lot of our owner operators and small fleet owners and carriers operate already. So to see an increased amount of truck volume into our already tight trucking market with truck volume, what do you guys think that's going to do for rates? It's a simple equation of supply and demand. The more trucks we have in the market, the lower the rates are. So if you guys think that the rates are low now, you can only imagine what's going to happen if we have more carriers or more trucks come into the market in order for us to fulfill, and the freight volumes are lower because the shipments that we're getting in aren't there. This is going to drive rates down to a place where we thought it was bad, now it's really bad. Okay. Next, I want to talk about what's going to happen with those cargo ships, right? So we're going to start to see cargo ships be backlogged out in the Atlantic, right? Because they have nowhere to go. No one's unloading them. So they're literally just sitting there waiting for this situation to resolve itself. The Biden administration has already said that they will not be interfering, although they do have the authority to enact to invoke legislation to make them keep working or to override, so that in the loom of their negotiations, we are still having productivity. They have made the decision to not get involved. So in other words, it's every man for himself and God for us all in this situation. So it's going to be very interesting to see exactly how long something like this continues, because every day is costing us billions of dollars, and every day is costing us something that we cannot get back, which is time. So being that I do work in supply chain management, looking at maybe rerouting goods into Canada and then putting them on a rail to bring them back into the USA is an option. And then you have the question of, okay, why don't we just transport things by air? However, air transportation is super expensive, and a lot of companies just don't have the resources or the finances to start funding that type of situation. So we are really at the mercy of the ILA and the Maritime Alliance, which is the ILA, the International Longshoremen's Association, and the Maritime Alliance, to really come to some type of agreement to make this work for us before it gets too bad. Okay. And last but not least, in the event that something like this takes on or stays going on for a week or a month, right? We will eventually start to see rates go up as we see an influx of resources and an influx of commodities start to be ordered. However, we can't guarantee when that will happen, what's going to justify that, and what's going to push that. So a lot of the commodities that you heard me name are things that are moved on temperature controlled pieces of equipment. So our refrigerated freight is definitely going to be impacted right now. And I would also like to say, just again, my opinion, that flatbed freight will also be impacted. And because of construction, because of the fact that they need the heavy machinery to complete jobs, we have the Midwest about to harvest the last little bit of their corn and grain and some of the other resources that they grow in order to kind of get those things distributed before we get into the winter months. So it could be a dark winter if this thing is not rectified as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to touch on those things. I wanted to give you guys facts and not fearmonger you, not make it more than what it is. We just have to look at the facts, see what's happening, and be of to pivot and navigate our businesses to be the most successful that we can in this time. So I would love to hear in the comments from my port truckers, for all of you guys who are being impacted by this. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know how you feel about it. Let me know if you're out of work, if you are parking your truck, if you're going to decide to hop on the load boards and start to delve in some of the spot market freight. Please, also, if you are delving into spot market freight, make sure that you use your resources and educate yourself on how to best negotiate with brokers and things of that nature so that you can be successful while you make this pivot and transition into your business. I love y'all. Follow me on everything. If you loan money gang, we out.